Hi, welcome. Today I'm very excited to introduce my very first guest, Don from DNA Genetics. Don is an icon in this industry, so it is an honor to have you here. And Don is actually a friend, so welcome to the show, Don.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to ask you something, and this is really fascinating to me. The industry is finally waking up to the idea that genetics matter and that good genetics are important. So maybe you can talk a bit about why good genetics are important to the industry.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started way back in early 2000s just trying to find things that we liked, you know, things that weren't just in clone form. At the time, you didn't have a lot of options to get different varieties and things, so you'd save seeds from family members or from friends and different people throughout the years, and you'd save them and you'd kind of do your own little selections. But the point moving forward, I think, is we need solid genetics to be able to do breeding projects, to be able to continue to get new strains, new genetics, new different varieties for the market. So for us, it was just, you know, my partner Aaron and I, just the desire to make something better that we liked. So we were always kind of like in competition with each other to kind of impress the other person on, you know, the kind of different varieties that we would make. So that was just kind of the labor of love. It wasn't out of a plan of any sort, just to kind of
make it happen.
I mean, it was survival.
For yourselves, in a way.
It was survival, yeah.
But like, what is, I know this is a simple question, but what is a good genetic? Like, is there such thing as a good genetic and a bad genetic? I mean, what is that?
I mean, okay, so there's genetics that are stable genetics. So in my opinion, a good genetic is anything you like, right? So if you like something and you have a good experience with it, then that's good for you, great. But as a breeder and as a seed maker, geneticist, I think what's good is something that's stable, something that if I put it in a package and you buy the package, you're gonna actually get what's on the package out of the seeds.
Right.
And unfortunately, throughout the years, for many years, 20 years plus, you would never know what you would get. You buy a pack of seeds in Amsterdam and you would smuggle them wherever you were going back home and grow them. 6 months later, you'd realize it wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Right.
So for us, it was more about just the passion and the love of the plant and wanting to make sure that we didn't start the foundation of what somebody was doing as far as they're growing a plant. They're not going to their dealer and buying it. They're actually growing it. So we didn't want to base that on a lie. And unfortunately for us in the beginning, we had a lot of bad experiences with different genetics that we would grow, and you'd have all these great ideas of what's going to happen, and it just wasn't like that. So it was really simple for us just to kind of hone in on quality, variety, terpene profile, something that Aaron and I both enjoyed, something that we liked. And yeah, it's kind of like writing music. I kind of compare it to that a lot, where if you're a good musician, you don't really care what the public thinks, or if your friends like the song, you just finish the song and then you play it. And if everybody else likes it, then great. And if they don't, it's still on the record. We all have those songs that we fast forward. So,
but let me ask you a question. So at 48North, we are growing the Kosher Kush, which is one of your more infamous strains. Yep. And I actually just listed that in an article as one of my favorite strains to use with my non-kosher meal. People seem to find that amusing. But I don't know that these genetics came from DNA. So what is that about?
Well, I mean, globally, you've been able to access seeds for many years. So the cannabis seed market is come out of Holland and Spain. And so forever, you've been able to order seeds and get seeds. So probably what you're smoking is somebody who ordered the seeds from whenever and did his own selection, and then it ended up at 48North.
But getting it from DNA, or as you move forward, and we're going to talk about that with your company, this is, the phenotyping that you've done, the quality that you've put into it, the assurances that you are getting what it says it is. I mean, this is, I think, part of what you're saying, which is anyone can sell you anything.
Right.
How do you really know? And it goes back to who you're purchasing it from, who is the genetics company. Right.
So now what we're doing is the forward-looking plan for DNA is we're licensing our brand and our genetics in all these different markets. So we have a deal with Canopy that we've had for a few years, where we've licensed them genetics that they've been selling.
And you help them as well with what they're growing, right?
Absolutely. So for the first 2 years, we consulted with them, helped them with best practices, helped them get their systems a little bit dialed in, and kind of. The most important thing for us is make sure that whoever we're doing business with is going to produce a product that we're going to want to consume.
That put your name on it.
Put our name on it.
To put your name on it is
so
key.
Anybody can just grow a plant, and in the end, it's not something that you want to put your name on. What's the point? So, for example, as we were tweaking and getting Canopy, or at the time it was just called Tweed, it wasn't even Canopy then, right? So,
yeah, and that's the interesting thing. Like they came to you early on. I mean,
so
like that
I give
just
them tons
shows,
of credit
yeah.
because they're forward thinking enough to be like, okay, we have a great business model. We've raised a lot of money. We know how to do business, but the business that we're doing, we need to find a little bit of authenticity. So when they sought us out and actually, spent the money and the time to hire us as consultants, we imported seeds to their facilities. We did selections on our own genetics, and then we finally get to the product that you're now seeing in the LPs now, or you're seeing for the public, and even. To take it one step further, is there was a whole year that went by that we wouldn't even put our name on the product.
Right.
So we were adjusting and tweaking and kind of getting things to the point where it was finally at the point where Aaron and I were willing to put our name on it.
Well, and that's the thing. So it's that DNA stamp of approval. That's what you're going for, is to say we're going to give our approval to those products that meet our standard.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be. I mean, we've spent our whole DNA stands for Don and Aaron. I mean, you know that. I've known you for years. So at the end of the day, for us, it's...
And Aaron, we have to, we're missing one half of the duo.
Yeah,
Aaron,
for
wherever
sure.
you are.
He's probably in Barcelona pretty soon, holding up the things over there. But definitely, it comes down to quality. Like, that's the most important thing for us, bar anything else. And so if the quality is good, then you can choose to like pizza if you like, or hamburgers, or salad. But if it's the quality that you like, then it really doesn't matter afterwards, as long as you have your quality. So,
well, let's talk about the business, because you have recently hired a CEO, Charles Phillips, with a very big pedigree. So what is the plan for DNA moving forward? Like, what's that all about?
Well, we're organizing. DNA is much bigger than Don and Aaron at this point. Right? I mean, it's.
How could it be bigger than Don and Aaron?
The root is still Don and Aaron, right? So we're still at the root. We're the root of the fruit, but to be honest, we're much bigger than that now. And so we hired a CEO, Charles Phillips. He's Stanford, Harvard graduate. He has a great pedigree. He's been in the industry already in the past. And working with us really closely just to kind of optimize our whole business, and get us ready for this next step.
Because you guys have one of the biggest brands, I would say, and most authentic brands in the industry, and we see obviously all these companies emerging as legalizations coming forward, and you must be like, what is going on here? So how do you think really you built that? Like, what is the secret to your success of building that brand?
I think staying authentic, staying true, staying honest, keeping the love for the plant being the priority, never making decisions for money. We make decisions based on people, based on good ideas. We're not in it for the money, or we would have been out a long time ago, and we would have been happy with already doing better than our parents did, let's say. But at this point, it's not about that. It's about organizing ourselves to be ready for the next step, really feeling like we have a brand that is, it's a world-renowned brand already, and most of these companies now that are in the industry, they're trying to figure out. They have a great business model, but now they're trying to figure out how to brand themselves. Or they have, great production facility, but they don't have distribution. There's all these different keys that they don't have. The one thing that we have is we have the brand, and so now we just have to
and the knowledge and the experience. So somebody out there in a certain state that has gotten the licensing and been able to raise the money, but now it's kind of like, what do we do? How do people know us? How do we grow well? Then you can kind of come in there and
that's why we brought in Charles, and we brought in our whole team, and we have a whole team now of biz dev and inside counsel. We have CO. I mean, we have all these.
How is it working to be
crazy.
in this world?
It's like not even what I
Don and I
really even wanted to deal with.
Chat about how do you run a company like this, and it's different than the old days. No.
Look, it's crazy, and here's the deal. Right now we're in a transitional phase. It's the very beginning. We're not even in the first inning. But I'm 43 years old, and I feel like a dinosaur. I've been in the industry forever. So right now, I think the balance is riding that line between corporate and the street, and making sure that you're organized enough so you have a corporate business that can sustain itself in a real business
Right.
structure. As the walls come down and it becomes federally
Yeah.
legal everywhere, I look at the map and I see a legal map everywhere. So you have to have your business organized. At the same time, you have to be connected to the street. You have to be authentic. You have to still have the people, the connoisseurs, the people that actually are the industry, the real industry, the
Right.
black market, the real people that are actually pushing the industry. They still have to love you as well and understand that you're not
Like,
so
do they
far
think
away
you've
from
gone
them.
corporate? Like, are you
Sure,
getting that kind of
sure.
feedback?
There's all kinds of different mixed feedback. I mean, when we signed with Tweed years ago, we took tons of licks for this
Right.
because people don't understand. But listen, we know we're doing the right thing. We know that our intentions are good. We know we're not making decisions based on money or somehow polluting
Right.
the plant. We're making decisions. I have children. I have small children. Aaron has small children. We want this plant to be free, and we want this industry to be completely open for the next generation, and we have to be organized for that. So do I love the whole corporate side of it? Do I love, having board meetings and all these crazy compliance things? No, I actually dislike it a lot, but I understand that that's what you need to bridge the gap between being in the street and not being legal and actually having a real business that's, potentially a Fortune 500 company.
Because you guys, for example, I know just from our own conversations, like, let's just take the apparel. Like, this is not something you've ever focused on, yet DNA will just organically sell a ton of apparel. Like, people love and are committed to you and Don, the DNA brand. So these are all things that you can now in this market say, okay, let's pull these together. Like, are you excited for that?
I'm super excited. I mean, the thing that's great about this industry is it crosses over everything. The blue collar worker, the guy that just wants to
Right.
go out and be a sports person, somebody who wants to, be totally motivated and be a lawyer or a teacher. I mean, it crosses over everything. So am I excited? I'm totally excited because finally we're not running from, some
Things.
authority or something. We're actually running in a different kind of race. We're running, because we're trying to mobilize ourselves enough to be organized to be ready for this next
Okay,
step.
last question. Did you ever think this day would come? Like, did you ever think, like, look back,
That
20-year-old
Alison Gordon would be interviewing me on Midas letter? No way. I never thought that in a million
did
years.
you ever, think back to when you were 20, you're in Amsterdam, did you ever imagine that it would just go legal in this way?
I mean, here's the thing. I always thought eventually it would be legal, yes. Did I ever believing something and wanting something or having a dream for something and actually believing it would happen are two different things, right? So I'm very surprised that where we're at right now.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one place on the map that would be, let's say, the center focal point of the cannabis industry in the world, I wouldn't have picked Toronto, right? That's for sure. 10 years ago.
Sorry, California boy.
Right. So there's lots of things that are surprising a lot of people in this industry, but I just think if you have a good, honest business and you're doing something authentic, then the people resonate with that. And that's how I think we can, sell a bunch of clothing or go into a different industry and like do this TV show and actually make...
Yes, they have an amazing show called Pimp My Grow, and definitely check that out.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, last thing, one word or one line.
Yeah.
What year do you think will the U.S. reschedule the drug and go full-on federally legal?
What year?
Yeah.
2020.
2020. You heard it from Don. Don, love you. Thank you for joining us today. We were with Don from DNA Genetics, the OG, true blue, authentic man himself. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, though.